Welcome to my channel, Everyday Homeschooler. My name is Sarah, and for those of you that are new around here, I am a mom of 5 kids, ranging in age from 0 all the way up to 12. That's right, I've got an infant, a toddler, elementary school, and yes, we're about to embark on those teenage years. I have been homeschooling now for 8 years. Today I want to talk to you about how to start homeschooling. All the things I knew or wish I would have known when we started our own homeschool journey. So grab a cup of coffee and let's jump in. Now, when you first jump into the homeschooling world, it can be a bit overwhelming to say the least. If you do a simple Google search of the word homeschooling, you will come up with over 98 million results. That's a lot. That's a lot to sift through and to figure things out. So today I just wanted to provide you with some basic information and how-tos, things that I wish I would have known when I first started my homeschooling journey, advice and ideas and thoughts of things that you should think through and really research before you get lost in the sea of shopping for curriculum. The first thing that you should do when you are considering homeschooling is to research your state requirements. Now, I'm talking to homeschoolers that are in the United States. If you're in Canada or in another country, you will have to look into your country's rules and regulations for homeschooling. But in the United States, each state has its own set of requirements and requests for homeschoolers. Every single state is different. Some require specific subjects, testing, assessments. Some even require your child to have specific vaccines. So I would just encourage you to jump on your state government's website and to look it up. Personally, we get all of this information from HSLDA. If you have not heard of them before, they are a homeschool legal defense association, and I will make sure to link their website below. You can get on their website and they have tons of free information for homeschoolers. But I would also really encourage you to consider purchasing a membership with them if you are serious about homeschooling. It ranges from, I think, about $10 or $11 a month, or you can buy it per year. They are not sponsoring this or giving me anything to say this. I just have really been blessed by being a member of HSLDA. They provide you with lots of information, sample forms, all kinds of things to help you start homeschooling from the legal side, how to work with your in particular school district. And if you run into any problems, which most homeschoolers don't, they will provide you with legal assistance. And actually, I did have one year where we had a little bit of trouble with our school district. They lost some of our forms and I was having a hard time communicating with them. Thankfully, HSLDA was right at my disposal and they jumped right in. One of their attorneys spoke to our school district, and within the matter of a couple of weeks, the issue was completely resolved. So before you do anything else, check with your state's requirements of what is required of homeschoolers and consider becoming a member of HSLDA. Next, I would encourage you to decide on how you are going to do record keeping and planning, how you're going to keep track of all of that information for your child and for yourself. Are you a paper person? Do you need a paper planner and paper notebooks with dividers and all that comes with that? Or are you a digital person? Do you need to set up some Google calendars and some spreadsheets, maybe a digital note-taking system? Maybe there's a really great app out there to help you keep all of your homeschool information straight. But all I can say is think through how you plan to organize all of your research, your information, record keeping that maybe is required for you to log your hours or the subjects or assignments that your student is going to be doing throughout the year. Think through that. Because for me personally, if I don't write something down, it lingers in my brain and stresses me out. Once I write it down, I know that it's there for me to get back to, and I can shut my brain off and stop thinking about it. Personally, I am a combination of both. I have a physical paper planner for myself and for my kids, but I also have a digital Google Calendar, and I keep spreadsheets and some other things digitally on my computer. However you decide to do it, it doesn't really matter as long as you have a way to keep yourself organized. Okay, so I want you to repeat this phrase with me. Homeschool is not public school at home. Homeschool is not public school at home. Please learn from my mistakes. You will hear so many homeschool moms talk about this. When I first started homeschooling, I envisioned that our homeschool needed to look like a public school classroom. I hung a flag up, my kids said the pledge, I had a chalkboard, I had a regimented hour by hour, subject by subject routine that we were going to follow that looked exactly like public school. Well, your home is not a public school classroom. Your children are not in a class of 20 or 30 other kids. It's them at home with mom or dad and their siblings. This is not a public school classroom environment, and trying to create that is probably not ever going to work. You should also really take some time to educate yourself about all of the homeschool vocabulary that's out there. Like I said before, if you do any type of Google search or research about homeschooling, you're going to run into a lot of lingo and terms that may be unfamiliar to you. So today I'm just going to spend a little bit of time reviewing some basic terminology. I am not going to go into detail about any of these. There are websites and experts and people out there that will give you lots more information. But let me just help you to kind of get your feet wet with some basic homeschool vocab. First of all, let's talk about different education and homeschool styles. There are a lot out there, and you will see them referred to on a lot of homeschool websites. First of all, there is traditional homeschooling. This is exactly what it sounds like, traditional schooling that you would be used to in somewhat of a public school setting. Textbooks where your child is going to read information, maybe do some review questions, study, memorize things for a test, and then take quizzes and tests to see how much of that knowledge they have stored in their brain. Next, we have classical education or classical homeschooling. This style of homeschooling focuses on what is referred to as the trivium, which is 3 different stages of learning: grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Typically, children who are in the grammar stage of learning are those younger elementary age kids, and you're going to focus a lot on memory work, on memorizing and learning a lot of grammar and new terms. Then they will move into the stage of logic, where children start to ask a lot of questions and try to figure out, things on their own. And then the third stage of rhetoric, where a student is having a pretty good understanding of the education that's being presented to them, and they are able to give you that information back and teach others. All right, there's also Charlotte Mason, and this homeschool style is based off of a woman named Charlotte Mason and her teachings about education, home education in particular. Homeschoolers who are in the Charlotte Mason camp tend to love living books, short, concise lessons, copy work, nature study, art and composer studies. It's just really its own flavor and feel of homeschool. There's also unit study style homeschool. And essentially what this is you will choose a unit of study for your child or children to study. Let's say, for instance, birds. And you will study birds for a certain length of time, and you will draw all of your different subjects from that main unit of study, birds. So maybe for science, you're going to study the anatomy of birds. Maybe for geography, you're going to study migration patterns of birds. Maybe for English and reading and language arts, you're going to read a book about birds and write a paper about birds. Maybe for history, you are going to look at the different species of birds and how they came to the continent and when. So I think you kind of get what I'm saying. Unit studies is basically taking one unit of information and studying all of your different subjects from that. There's also a term of unschooling. This style of homeschooling is a very child-led education process. You basically take whatever your child is interested in and run with it and base your education on that. So for instance, my son Noah went through a huge Lego phase, as most boys do. So if I was unschooling, maybe I would let that drive our education for that season. Maybe we would study and do everything about Legos. Maybe we would study the history of Legos. Maybe we would study math and count Legos and multiply Legos, or figure out the area and perimeter of a Lego creation. Maybe I would let Noah dive deep into reading books about Legos and the creator of Legos and the business structure behind Legos. And basically, I would just let Noah run the show, and we would kind of go based on what he was interested in and what he was wanting to study. Lastly, we have the term of eclectic or mixed. And basically what this homeschool style means is that you pull from maybe one or two or several of these different homeschool styles. Eclectic homeschoolers just tend to take a little bit from different styles of homeschool and run with it. Another form of homeschool or education vocabulary that you should familiarize yourself with are learning styles, or the different styles or habits that your child will use as they are learning. Now, there's a lot of information and thoughts behind this. You've probably heard of this before. Is your child a visual learner, a kinesthetic learner, an auditory learner? Actually, I have a really good book that I read about this. I'm going to grab it. Okay, the book is called Talkers, Watchers, and Doers, Unlocking Your Child's Unique Learning Style. It is by Sherry Fuller. I read this book several years ago when I was pretty early on in the homeschool process, and it just really helped me figure out what my learning style was, what my children's learning style was. Understanding all of these different homeschool vocabulary and lingo is going to really help you when you do start curriculum shopping, because each homeschool curriculum has its strengths and weaknesses where all of these are concerned. Some homeschool curriculums are very Charlotte Mason driven, do really well for auditory learners. Other homeschool curriculum may be very traditional and may work really well for visual learners. Thinking through all of this vocabulary and lingo and thinking it through what works well for you and your children will really help you when you start diving into what your homeschool will look like and what curriculums you want to purchase. Okay, so once you kind of understand the different homeschool styles and the different types of learners, I would really encourage you to take some time to really self-examine. What I mean by this is to take some time and ask yourself what type of teaching personality you have. What type of family lifestyle do you have in your home? Ask yourself this and be honest. Let me give you some examples. For instance, are you type A? Are you very driven and organized? Are you a self-starter and have a lot of self-discipline? Are you a procrastinator? Are you outdoorsy and love to be outside with your kids? Are you the crafty mom who doesn't mind making a huge mess and, having glitter and glue and all kinds of things through the house? Are you the type of homeschool parent that's constantly going to want to be on the go, doing field trips and co-ops and play dates and all kinds of fun hands-on learning? Are you the type of homeschool parent that's going to want to be at home and would rather sit on the couch cuddled up reading aloud to your children quietly? Are you the type of person that likes to plan out each minute of your day hour by hour? Or are you more of a play it by ear type of person? The answers to these questions will really help to guide you as you form your homeschool and decide on what curriculums and things you want to pursue. So maybe taking a personality test might be helpful for you right now. Maybe an Enneagram or a Myers-Briggs. Maybe you need to Google search a homeschool teacher personality test. I'm sure there's one out there. Really just take some time to have an honest conversation with yourself, with your spouse, with your kids, and honestly think through what this stage and season of life looks like for you and what type of homeschool will best serve your family. Once you have spent some time self-examining, I'm going to ask you to go even a little bit further and to ask yourself why. Really define and think through your why behind homeschooling. A, because you're going to get asked a lot, why are you homeschooling? And it's nice to have a concise answer to that. But B, it's also good because it will help you to know what direction to take in your homeschool. If you're homeschooling for religious purposes, then you're going to probably want to look at homeschool curriculums and things that align with your religious practices. If you are homeschooling because your child's been traumatized or bullied in school, you're going to want to pursue some homeschooling this year that is light, not too strenuous or stressful. If you are homeschooling because your child was bored in school and needs more one-on-one interaction and challenge, then you're going to pursue a homeschool that's pretty strenuous and challenging for them. Again, just think through what is your why behind homeschooling. I know some homeschoolers that they use their answer to their why to name their homeschool, to make a mission statement for your homeschool. They really turn it into kind of a business practice, and that's great. Maybe that'll work well for your family. But just take a few minutes to really think through why you are homeschooling. All right, so next I would really encourage you to think through a budget. And I am talking about a money budget and a time budget. Let's start with money. First of all, take a hard look at your finances and think through how much money you would like to spend on homeschooling. I have learned from experience, it is very easy to say, oh, this is for the education, and just fill my Amazon cart full of books. And before I know it, I've spent a lot, hundreds of dollars on activities and books and all kinds of really fun things for my kids' education. But you can get lost in this and you can spend a lot of money without thinking on educational items. So take a hard look at your budget and decide how much money you want to spend monthly, annually, whatever, on homeschool. Think through things beyond curriculum. You will also probably be spending money on different types of school and craft and art supplies. You may need to spend money on electronics, maybe a computer, a keyboard, a mouse, a monitor, a printer ink. Think about online subscriptions. Maybe you want an Audible subscription or some other type of app or fun thing for your child to do on an iPad or a computer. Think about field trips and extracurricular activities. Maybe you want your child to do piano lessons or sign up for classes at your local science museum. All of these things can go into your homeschool budget and are things that you should think through. Now, don't let this overwhelm you too much. Maybe your budget is small. That's okay. There are homeschool options on all ends of the spectrum. You can spend a lot of money, thousands of dollars on homeschool if you want to, but you can also be very frugal in what you spend on your homeschool. There are a lot of free options out there, free curriculum, free online programs. You can also really utilize your local library or even just some used curriculum sales. If you really look, you can find ways to homeschool on the cheap. So no matter what your budget is, just be honest with yourself about it and stick to it. I would also really encourage you to budget your time. Sit down with your calendar, with your to-do list, whatever, and really think through how much time you have to devote to homeschooling. Do you have 5 or 6 hours every single weekday that you're going to spend homeschooling? Are you working part-time and maybe you only have 4 or 3 days a week that you can devote to homeschooling with your children? Are you going to homeschool Tuesday through Saturday, or are you going to school Monday through Thursday? Are you going to be a year-round homeschooler, or are you going to follow the traditional school calendar? It looks different for everyone, but being honest with yourself about how much time you have to homeschool will help make decisions about what curriculum you will choose, what style of homeschool you will choose, and many other things. So just ask yourself honestly, how much money do I have to spend, and how much time do I have to allow to homeschool my children? Next, I would encourage you to create a community. That's right, create a community of homeschool friends around you. Let's face it, homeschooling is tough. It has its ups, its downs, its good days, and its bad. And we all have questions, concerns, thoughts, ideas, encouragement that we want to share with people as we go along on our journey. No one is meant to homeschool alone. So I would encourage you to be intentional and purposeful about creating homeschool contacts in your life, homeschool friends, and people that you can reach out to on a regular basis. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go and sign up for every local co-op or homeschool group in your area. Maybe it does. That's a really great way to create some community for yourself. But I would just encourage you to start small. Find 1 or 2 people that you can intentionally become friends with that are also homeschoolers. Maybe this means that you just start a group text with 2 or 3 other moms that you know that homeschool. Just a way for you guys to chit-chat about homeschool on a regular basis. Maybe there is a veteran homeschool mom at church who is now an empty nester and has homeschooled all of her kids all the way through and would love nothing more than to sit down with you every once in a while for a cup of coffee and pour into you about her homeschool experiences. Maybe you can join an online Facebook group or other social media group where you can talk with other homeschool moms. Again, it can look a lot of different ways, but I would just encourage you to create homeschool relationships in your life. And if all else fails, please, by all means, contact me. Reach out to me through my website or leave me a comment here on YouTube. I would love nothing more than to be here to support and encourage you on your homeschool journey. So while we're talking about friends and social media, let me take a moment to just tell you to beware of comparison. It is so easy in the homeschool world to look at all the things that other people are doing on social media, on Pinterest, what have you. Homeschoolers that have been homeschooling for 10 or 15 years that seem to have it all together, have this perfect, beautiful homeschool space, have all the latest curriculum options, and to compare ourselves, to feel bad about ourselves. Maybe it's smaller than that. Maybe you have a friend who has kids that are similar ages of yours, and her daughter isn't struggling to learn to read. Her daughter is reading at a 6th grade level. Maybe, her son is doing math at a high school level and he's only in 2nd grade. It's really easy to compare ourselves, compare our kids, compare our circumstances, and I would just tell you to beware of that. One of the most beautiful parts of homeschooling is that you get to individualize it for yourself, for your children, and for your family. You get to move at your own pace, and your homeschool gets to be unique and personal to what best fits your family. No one else's homeschool is going to look like yours. Okay, so once you have thought through all of these things, now it's okay to go ahead and start looking into different curriculums. But I would encourage you, do your research before you buy. I can't tell you how many times I purchased a curriculum because it was new and flashy and exciting, or someone down the street was using it and it was working for their kids. It'll work for my kids too. And sure enough, within about a month or two, I got frustrated with it, or my kids got frustrated with it, just because it wasn't a good fit for our family, for our homeschool. And I ended up having to shelve or table it, and honestly wasted my money. So I would definitely encourage you to just spend some time, watch some YouTube reviews, or check out some blog posts or websites out there that give you more information about a curriculum before you purchase it. A lot of curriculum companies will give you a lot of sample pages or kind of try it before you buy it options, where you can use it for a day or two with your kids and really get a feel for if it will be a good fit for your family. A couple other resources that I would point you to are Kathy Duffy. She has a website, I will link it below, where she has, oh my gosh, probably thousands of homeschool curriculum reviews on there that will give you just the pros and cons of different homeschool curriculum. I would also point you to a site called Rainbow Resource. Now again, I am not affiliated with them. They are not paying me. They are just a company that I have used for years and years, and they have been a blessing to my family. They are essentially the Amazon of the homeschool world. They have over 50,000 homeschooling products on their website, curriculum, activities, books, all kinds of things. So if you haven't checked out Rainbow Resource, I will link them below as well. Okay guys, well I think that wraps things up for today. I am so excited that you are starting this homeschool journey. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and like it below, and leave me a comment. Introduce yourself, ask me any questions or anything like that. I would love to meet you, and I respond to every single YouTube comment that I get. If you haven't done so already, please hit that red subscribe button. I make new videos each week about education, homemaking, and everyday life. See you later.